Hello everyone, this is Sam from Language Atlas, and in this video, I'd like to show you the Portuguese A2 vocabulary Anki deck. In this video, we'll go over three things. First, I'd like to show the course structure of the Portuguese A2 vocabulary Anki deck. Second, I'd like to show the course content, and I'll do so by having a look at three Anki decks within the overall Portuguese A2 vocabulary Anki deck. And third, I'd like to show you some brief editing options. So let's get started with the first point, which is the course structure. Now, you may have already noticed that I have two versions of Portuguese over here, a European Portuguese and a Brazilian one. The European Portuguese is the Portuguese that's being spoken in Portugal, and the Brazilian one, of course, refers to the Portuguese that's being spoken in Brazil. Now, I've already opened them, and they're right over here. And I like to begin with the course structure of the European Portuguese A2. But before I do that, I just want to say, in terms of course structure, these two are exactly the same. However, when it comes to the course content, so what you see inside, the words, the sentences, the audio, the pronunciation, the IP notations, these things, they are different. So having said that, let's get started with the European Portuguese A2 vocabulary Anki deck. You can see that there are 8 chapters: pronouns, conjunctions, verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, and determiners. Now, if you go to chapter 4 nouns and click on this little plus icon in front of it, we can see that there are subdecks inside of it, 20 to be precise. They range from academia, intellect, and animals all the way to time, maths, and numbers, and transportation. Now, what I've done is that I've taken a look at all the nouns in chapter 4 nouns and I've categorized them by theme. So if you wish to learn more about clothing and fashion, you can do so. If you wish to learn more about electronics and technology, you can do so. If you wish to learn more about materials and substances, you can do so. Whichever theme you are interested in, you can simply study that theme. Now, that was the European Portuguese A2. Now I'd like to go to the Brazilian Portuguese A2. I am going to click on this icon over here, and you can see the same 8 chapters inside Brazilian Portuguese A2 vocabulary. So they are pronouns, conjunctions, verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, and determiners. So if I go to chapter 4, nouns, and I click on the little plus icon, we can see that we have the same 20 subjects inside it. So academia, intellect, animals, all the way until time, maths, and numbers, and transportation. So that was my first point, to show the course structure. Now I'd like to go to the second point, which is to show the course content. And I mentioned before that I will use 3 Anki decks to showcase this. I will use from Brazilian Portuguese 2 decks and 1 deck from European Portuguese A2. So from Brazilian Portuguese, I will look at chapter 4 nouns, home. Then I'll go to chapter 5 adjectives. And then within European Portuguese, I'll just show the verbs deck. Now, even if you're interested in the other version of Portuguese, I urge you to keep watching. That's because in terms of course structure, in terms of setup, they're exactly the same. But as I mentioned before, the words, the sentences, the audio, the IP notation, that is different. So you will learn a lot, even if you're interested in the other version of Portuguese. So I'll begin with chapter 4 nouns, and then I'll go to home, and then I'll click on study now. So this is the first card type. We see a Portuguese sentence. We see 2 blank areas. Underneath it, we see the English translation of Portuguese sentence. We see a certain part bold and underlined. We see the mail. So did she bring the mail? And of course, this is a translation of the Portuguese sentence. And it's your job to know how you say the mail in Portuguese. We see a visual representation of the Portuguese sentence, so an image. Many studies have shown that if you have such a visual representation, so an image or a video or anything like this, it really helps you to understand the words and concepts that you're learning and better memorize them as well. So this will really help you. How do we say the mail in Portuguese?
Ela trouxe o correio? O correio, correio. Os correios, uns correios.
Great. So we have a singular area. So we have a sentence area. This first area is a sentence area. The second area is a singular area. And the third area is the plural area. So we have the correct sentence with the article and noun that we were looking for. However, you may have noticed something, and that is that what we were looking for is in blue. Why is it in blue? Well, Portuguese is a gender language. We have the masculine gender and the feminine gender. Masculine words are shown in blue. Feminine words are shown in pink. So whenever you see a noun, you'll immediately know the gender of the noun as well by its color. And because it's blue, you're immediately able to identify the gender, which is masculine, and better memorize it as well. And same for feminine nouns. So underneath the Portuguese sentence, we have the IP notation. This is here so you can practice your pronunciation. Underneath that, we have the English translation of the Portuguese sentence. And finally, we have the audio.
Ela trouxe o correio?
This is the singular area. So if the singular noun in its definite and indefinite form, we have the IPA notation of the noun, and we have the English translation.
O correio, correio.
The third area is plural area, and we have the same setup.
Os correios, uns correios.
The noun, the IP notation, and if it were the case to have an English to translate, if it were the case to have a plural English, you'd have a plural English there as well. Portuguese sentence, blank area, English translation, we have to know a seat in Portuguese.
Eu fui colocado em assento no fundo do trem. O assento, assento. Os assentos, uns assentos.
So we see the same setup. We have the sentence area, which is the first area. We have the singular area, which is the second one. And we have the plural area, which is the third one. And over here you see the English translation. The cooker broke. The cooker.
O fogão quebrou. O fogão, fogão. Os fogões, uns fogões.
She wrote everything down on a sheet of paper. A sheet.
Ela escreveu tudo em uma folha de papel. A folha, uma folha. As folhas, umas folhas.
Now this is where things get interesting. And again, we have the same setup. Sentence, singular, plural. However, now you see something in pink. Why is that? Because the sheet is feminine in Portuguese. So it's shown in pink. So again, masculine nouns blue, feminine nouns pink. I can't find a hairbrush anywhere. How do you say a brush?
Eu não encontro uma escova de cabelo em lado nenhum. A escova de cabelo, uma escova de cabelo. As escovas de cabelo, umas escovas de cabelo.
The jeweler displayed the valuable necklace in a glass case. A case.
O joalheiro exibiu o colar valioso em uma caixa de vidro. A caixa, uma caixa. As caixas, umas caixas.
Great. We can do one more. The color faded away with the washing. The washing.
A cor desbotou com a lavagem. A lavagem, uma lavagem. As lavagens, umas lavagens.
So that was the first card type. You see a blank area and you have to know what goes inside it. Now I'd like to show you the second card type. And the second card type is a typing exercise. So we've seen this sentence before. Did she bring the mail? And before we had to know what went inside the blank area. Now we have to spell the word. Let's see what happens if you answer correctly.
Ela trouxe o correio? O correio, correio. Os correios, uns correios.
So if the answer is completely correct, it will be shown in green. Anki shows you if you answered correctly or not. But let's say you do not know the answer and you just say something like this.
Eu fui colocado em assento no fundo do trem. O assento, assento. Os assentos, uns assentos.
So you can see my answer is wrong. Now the letters I had correct are shown in green, and what I had wrong is shown in red. And you can see the correct answer over here. And what is missing, of course, what is not good, is shown in gray. So for example, last one is A, it should have been an O. So Anki shows you when you have made a mistake, and this is how you can improve your spelling and typing. Now I could continue like this, but I think you get the picture. It's more typing exercises. So that was chapter 4 nouns. Now I'd like to go to chapter 5 adjectives, and I'll click on study now. You shouldn't go there, it's too deep. And again, you may have noticed it's the same setup. Sentence, translation, picture. Deep.
Você não devia ir ali, é profundo demais. Profundo, profunda. Profundos, profundas.
So something really interesting is happening here. This you know, and this you know as well. So you have the sentence, you have the singular, the plural. But now we have in total 4 versions of the adjective. Why is this the case? Well, I mentioned before that Portuguese is a gendered language, so you have masculine and feminine. Of course, because we have a singular and plural area as well, it means we have four versions. So this is singular masculine, singular feminine, plural masculine, plural feminine. And you have to agree with nouns in gender and number, of course. But no worries, because you have all the four versions over here, you can practice them, you can study them. Of course, you have the IP annotations and translation as well, and you can listen to them again.
Profundo, profunda.
And same for plural.
Profundos, profundas.
So this Anki deck really helps you understand, practice, and study the Portuguese language. Those bags are too heavy. We need help. Heavy.
Esses sacos são muito pesados. Nós precisamos de ajuda. Pesado, pesada. Pesados, pesadas.
And again, you see the same concept. Masculine, feminine, and this everything over here is singular, and everything over here is plural. Are you certain of what you saw? Certain.
Você está certo daquilo que viu? Certo, certa. Certos, certas.
Her missing son was found.
O filho desaparecido dela foi encontrado. Desaparecido, desaparecida. Desaparecidos, desaparecidas.
This is an enormous building. Enormous.
Este é um prédio enorme. Enorme. Enormes.
We can do one more. We are all alone in this house. Alone.
Nós estamos sozinhos nesta casa. Sozinho, sozinha. Sozinhos, sozinhas.
Great. And I could continue like this, and at a certain point, we would reach the second card type, which is here. And again, it's a spelling exercise. So if you have it correct, it shows in green. If not, a bit of red and gray in there as well. So those were the two decks from Brazilian Portuguese that I wanted to show you. Now I'll go to the third deck, which is the one within European Portuguese. I'm going to click on the plus icon. I will go to chapter 3 verbs, and I will click on study now. So we see the same setup. We have a sentence with a blank area. We have a certain sentence that is translated, so it's Portuguese version and English translation. To replace is bolded and underlined, so we have to know how to say to replace. And we see a picture. How do you say to replace?
Nós precisamos de substituir o copo que partimos. Substituir.
Now you may have already noticed the difference. The audio is different, the pronunciation is different, and because of that, the IP annotations are different as well. As I mentioned before, there are two versions of Portuguese. You have a Brazilian one and a European one. And because of that difference, of course, you have different audio, different pronunciation, different IP annotations. So it really matters which version of Portuguese you choose. But the setup, the structure, that is the same. So we have sentence in Portuguese, IP annotation, English translation, and audio.
Nós precisamos de substituir o copo que partimos.
And over here we have the verb area. Now this is what is interesting about the chapter 3 verbs, is that all verbs you will learn are in the infinitive form. So they are in the full verb form. Why is this the case? Well, once you know the full verb form, it is easy for you to conjugate it in different tenses, and of course conjugate it according to different subject pronouns. So knowing the full verb form is the basis of everything, and once you know that, it's easier for you to conjugate them and use them according to different contexts. So to replace, of course, full verb and Portuguese as well, and let's listen to it.
Substituir.
Great. I would like to offer her a job. To offer.
Eu gostaria de lhe oferecer um emprego. Oferecer.
Great. Why do you feel the need to question everything? To question.
Por que é que tu sentes a necessidade de questionar tudo? Questionar.
To question. I want to lend her some money. To lend.
Eu quero emprestar-lhe algum dinheiro. Emprestar.
I would like to wish you a Merry Christmas. To wish.
Eu gostaria de vos desejar um Feliz Natal. Desejar.
It was a great idea to camp here. To camp.
Foi uma ótima ideia acampar aqui. Acampar.
And one more. They were hired to review the product. To review.
Eles foram contratados para avaliar o produto. Revisar, avaliar.
Great. And I could continue like this, but in the
Eu
end, we would end up with the typing exercises, and we've already seen it before. Great. So that was my second point to show you the course content. Now I'd like to go to my third point, which is to show you some brief editing options. Now, many people have asked me the question, how do you regulate how many new cards you see per day? Well, very simple. You go over here and you click on this icon and you click on options. And you can see an area over here, new cards per day and maximum reviews per day. I can change the new cards per day from 20 to 50. So I'll increase this and you will see 50 new cards per day. And I can increase the reviews per day from 20 to 50. And a review is just simply a card that you've done before that you will do again. So a review. And after I change it, you can see the numbers have increased. And I can decrease them again if I wish to do so. So I can go from 50 to 20 back again. And 50 to 20 again. From 50 to 20 back again. Click on save. And you can see that the numbers have decreased. My advice to you would be to start with a low number. Language learning is all about creating a habit and sticking to it. And it's easier to do that if you have a low number in the beginning. But of course, once you've established that habit, you can increase that number to whatever number you wish. So that was it for this video. I'd like to thank you so much for watching my explanation of the Portuguese A2 vocabulary Anki deck. You can get the deck at languageatlas.com. I will share the links in the description and comment section. Of course, you have to choose which version of Portuguese you're interested in. Please consider that very carefully. And yeah, you can reach me for anything. Thanks again for watching. And I wish you a very, very good day. Goodbye.